How's it going, guys? My name is Matt, this is my beard, and I went to Warhammer World. January the 11th, 2025, I made my pilgrimage to Warhammer World. I've never been to Warhammer World before, and this was a special occasion. Not for me, it was actually for one of my closest friends, JJ. And it's quite a cool little story, so I'm going to tell you the story first, and then we'll jump into Warhammer World in general. Now, before I go any further into this video, something I want to make mention of is that there's not going to be that much in the way of photos or videos about Warhammer World on this video. I did take loads of photos whilst I was down there. The majority of it was for reference, if I'm honest with you, but because of the type of day it was, it didn't feel right to make this about making content. I knew that going down, and I didn't want, JJ was priority. So if you're clicking on this video and expecting to see lots and lots of images and videos of Warhammer World, yes, there's going to be a handful, but it's mainly going to be me talking about it and my experience and maybe some advice and that sort of thing for yourself. So if you do want to watch that and listen to that, then feel free to continue. I would love that. But if you wanted to see a lot of pictures and videos and B-roll of Warhammer World, then this probably isn't the video for you. But feel free to stay around anyway, though, because it would be nice. So, the story. I live with 4 other people. We've got a lovely house in Newcastle, and we have our own area in the house, and we're all nerds. We all have our own sort of niche of nerddom, shall we say. But one of the things that's quite a strong commonality between, the 5 of us, is that we love Warhammer and Games Workshop and painting. JJ, being the best painter in the house, his skill is sublime, but he also loves playing the game as well. And for Christmas, what we do, because we've lived with each other for a while now, for Christmas what we do as a group, rather than getting presents for everyone, we do a Secret Santa, and you can get anything for that person. It could be something really silly, could be something really serious, could be something really nice, like whatever. And this year I was fortunate enough to get JJ as my Secret Santa, and I like getting for JJ because he is an absolute nightmare to buy for, because he's very specific in what he likes, but the thing that you're going to get him he will absolutely love. So this year, with me getting JJ for Secret Santa, and also with JJ's birthday being in January, I thought I'd combine those 2 gifts. And on Christmas, when we gave each other our Secret Santas, I said to JJ, okay, keep the 11th of January completely free. Obviously, I've been colluding with his girlfriend to make sure that they hadn't already had some plans, but please keep the 11th of January free. I'm taking you to Warhammer World. Now, for context, for us, that's about a 3.5 hour drive away. About maybe a 2-3 hour train ride. I'm not really sure on the train side of things, but we drove down. So we went from Newcastle down to Nottingham, and we left at about 7:30, and we got there for, it was about 7:15, and we got there for about 11:20 in the morning. So it was a decent drive down. I'd barely slept that night because I was absolutely ecstatic and really, really excited to go. JJ, very similar. He was really excited to go, and we were kind of we were nerding out on the drive down. I had anticipated that JJ would probably fall asleep in the car and I would just be driving, and I actually already set up some City Radio's podcast on to listen to just on the way down. And we ended up just talking throughout the entirety of the drive down about literally everything. So we arrive, it's around about 11:20, 11:30, something like that. We stretch our legs. We didn't stop, so we didn't stop at Weatherby or anything like that. We literally just gunned it straight down. Got there, and when you drive into the car park, it's very unassuming. So you drive up to the building and you see the Imperial Eagle on the wall, like quite high up on the wall. But that's it, and it is signposted Warhammer World, but it's quite unassuming on the outside of the compound. You drive in through the gates, and straight in front of you is the Space Marine. There's a large metal Space Marine statue, and then to the left of that is a Rhino, a Space Marine Rhino. And naturally, because it's both JJ and I's first time down there, we did take our photos in front of that. So I did actually bring my tripod down specifically for those photos, because I didn't want to sort of get somebody by the shoulder and, oh, would you mind taking a photo of my friend and I? Because, you can't guarantee that they'll take a good one, So I just set up a timer, made sure I framed it right, and these are the photos that I took. We then went in, so went in the front door, and as you go in kind of on the basement level of the entire complex. It's all wheelchair accessible and all that sort of thing, so if you are planning a trip yourself, there are ramps and there are actual lifts to get throughout, accessibility lifts. So for wheelchair users, you're absolutely fine, there's no concerns there. So you go in on the basement floor, or we'll call it basement floor. You go on the basement floor. As soon as you go in, there's a concierge desk, and then a little display stand in front of you with some White Dwarf magazines and that sort of thing. And then off to your right, there are a cool sort of assortment of merchandisey type things. There was a handful of prints of really old codexes. So codexes from like 2nd and 3rd edition, but there were the prints of the front cover, and then you also had a handful of the art prints from Leviathan and also from Age of Sigmar. So some of the box art stuff, some of the the inner page stuff from your codexes and rulebooks. They had about maybe 12 or 13 options there if you wanted to buy one, and then there was a small glass case with the very first Space Marine ever done in plastic. So when they did the very first run, it was like a test model, and somebody's basically painted it up and put it in a little glass bell jar, and it's a beautiful model. And that's actually inspired a whole different project, but we're not going to talk about that in this video. So we got our tickets. Now, tickets, really, really simple. You can get one of two versions of the ticket. So to actually go into the facility, it's free. So to go in and to go to the shop, it's free. To go to Bugman's bar, it's free. If you want to have a little look around some of the gaming tables in the main hall, it's free. However, if you want to go around the exhibition, which is about 60% of the square footage that you can explore in Warhammer World, that ticket is £8.50. Alternatively, it's £29, but you receive a dioramas book, and that's updated every year or year and a half to reflect the dioramas that you're going to see when you go into the exhibition hall. Now, we chose not to get the diorama book just because it was, although it's a very nice keepsake, it didn't feel right to have that book already and not have seen the things. So the plan was, if we would potentially get it on the way out. We ended up not, but that's that. So we got our exhibition tickets, and an exhibition ticket looks pretty cool. It's like a textured bit of card. It's on screen now, and it's really nice. It's it's a nice little keepsake. It's very similar to if you were to keep your lanyard from a gaming event like Adepticon or a UK Games Expo, something like that. But obviously without the lanyard, it's just the actual ticket stub itself. You then go up a set of stairs. Now, this set of stairs goes round in a sort of a U shape. However, it circles a very large statue of Titus from Space Marine 2 and also Space Marine as well. And it's a really brilliant, quite enigmatic statue of Titus. It's great. It's really detailed, and it's got glowing eyes, and it's a really cool sort of and quite imposing statue for you to see when you walk straight in. So you go up the stairs from the foyer, or from the basement level where you enter, and you get your ticket, and you're pumped straight into the middle of the shop. In front of you, you have a bit of shop, and then you can see into the play area. Now, at this point in time, there was a kill team tournament on, so there was quite a lot of hustle and bustle in the play area, or the gaming space rather. Play area sounds like it's a children's play area. No, the gaming space, or the tables for set up for kill team. And then to your left, there was it wrapped around into the 40k and Age of Sigmar shop bit, and then to your right, there was all of your secondary systems, so Necromunda, Blood Bowl, 30k, and then also it had some of the larger resin stuff right at the back, so the Titans. Now, I have to admit, straight off the bat, walking into the shop when you've just got there is dangerous, especially when you're met with some of the shop exclusives. So for example, they've got a exclusive Land Raider and Rhino combo which has a few unique resin parts which really help differentiate those models for around about £88 or something like that, and you're met with the box art straight away, and it's a really dangerous game if you've got a hole burning in your pocket, shall we say. So to save ourselves, we jumped straight into the exhibition. So rather than looking around the shop, we went, right, no, let's go into the exhibition let's explore the exhibition, because that's effectively the main reasons why we went there in the first place. So the exhibition is broken down into 4 different sections. So your first section is your Warhammer, Age of Sigmar and Fantasy and Lord of the Rings stage or exhibition. Your second is 30k and 40k. Your third is a very large diorama. And then your fourth is your secondary systems, and it kind of felt like overflow for larger models that have been painted throughout all of the systems. But it was really well organised. So I'll take it one by one. So the first... So when you first go into the exhibition area, there's just a history. There's different, different glass display cabinets which have some of the original lead and pewter models from back in the day, and then also some photos and some history placards and that sort of thing. And also there was the Rock, which is a scene from one of the original White Dwarfs that I collected as a child, and it's basically a diorama of the inside of a Dark Angel's chapel, and I'll put a picture on screen now of what that looks like for you, so you can see what I mean. But it's called The Rock, and it's phenomenal. It's a really, really cool piece, and to see that in the flesh was amazing. Now, at this point, we are on the first floor. So we've gone in at the basement, we've gone up some stairs, and you're on the first floor. However, the history bit is very, very small, and it actually you take another set of stairs, or there's alternatively an accessibility lift there as well, which takes you up to the second floor, which is the main floor for your exhibitions. And that's where you go into Exhibition Room 1. So Exhibition Room 1, as I say, was Age of Sigmar, a bit more history, and Lord of the Rings, and that was captivating. The way that they've set these places up, or these exhibitions up, it's quite hard to kind of put into words the feeling, because as a painter, I appreciate all different manners of painting, all different styles of painting, and obviously from being young and from being, a fancier of Warhammer for such a long time, you get familiar with the heavy metal style of painting, and that's like the box art style. So that's the style that you'll be familiar with. If you've never been in the hobby before and you're planning your first time to Warhammer World, just to put a bit of context on what I mean by this, if you go into a Games Workshop or a Warhammer and you've seen the box art, well, the style of paint job, it's called heavy metal, and there's an heavy metal team who work within Games Workshop who their sole purpose is to paint the models that the company creates. and then they get photographed and they're used as box art, or they're used for dioramas and that sort of thing. And to see the level of detail in the hand, I mean effectively in the hand, you never held or handled any of these miniatures. They were behind glass, but when you're but 8 inches away, I mean, you would go right up to the glass and you'd be staring at these models, literally 6 to 8 inches away from where they were sat on in their display or on their diorama. And to see the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of hours that have gone into into all of these models combined, because the reality is there was well over 20,000 models that I saw that day. Well over that, well over 50,000 models out, possibly. Yeah. I'm going to go with 50. Like, I'm going to say there was over 40,000. Let's put it that way. There was over 40,000 models on display, easily. And I don't like to embellish. I don't like to exaggerate. That's not my way. But trying to actually to put into a number, there was lots. There was so many models on display. It was phenomenal. Now, the way that they display these models is basically by army or faction. So you would have, for example, a display cabinet, floor to ceiling, Sylvaneth. You'd have a display cabinet, floor to ceiling, Orcs, floor to ceiling, Bretons, that kind of thing. And interspliced between these floor to ceiling cabinets, because they were literally floor to ceiling, every single one of them was lit, and everything was lit perfectly as well. So you could see the detail, you could see the craftsmanship and workmanship, and just the high quality work and the passion that went into these models. And I mean, to put this in perspective, I'm filming this on the Sunday, so this is the day after I came back, and I'm still not in a state of shock, but I'm still lost for words, and I'm struggling to even articulate this right now as to just how it feels. And that's kind of part of one of the reasons why I'm not putting too much in the way of photography or videography into this video, because if you have an opportunity to go to Warhammer World in Nottingham, do it. Do it. Absolutely do it. My only bit of advice would be to plan it. I.e., if you enjoy playing the games, book your table a month or 3 in advance. We tried to book a table within a week, and obviously with the Kill Team tournament being on, they did have a section of tables available for us to take, but they'd already been booked out. And this is the problem. They already had reservations and people playing, so we couldn't obviously play. But I digress. So in Exhibition Room 1, obviously we've got all the Warhammer Fantasy or Warhammer Age of Sigmar and the Lord of the Rings and the War of the Rohirrim and that sort of stuff. And it had historical models from these game systems too. So it had like some of the old Pewtercast models, some of the original run of Lord of the Rings stuff. It was just amazing to see, all of these different models in one place. Again, organised by faction, organised by, what army they represented. And that included old world stuff as well. So there was old world stuff interspliced between everything. So then we go into room 2, which was 30k and 40k. Now this was my favourite room by far. I love Necromunda. I absolutely love Necromunda. Necromunda's like probably my favourite system within the Games Workshop roster, and it's most of the content I've created for this channel has been Necromunda based, and it probably will be for quite some time to come. However, the 40k and the 30k rooms specifically in the exhibition hall, that probably tipped it for me the most. It probably it gave me the biggest sort of satisfaction, and there is a reason for that, and I'll get onto that when I talk about room 4. But for the here and now, we'll focus on the 30k and 40k. So again, the room was sort of split between 40k armies on one side and 30k armies on the other side. Now, there wasn't too much in the way of 30k, because there isn't really that much in the way of 30k to begin with. There is and there isn't. Like, volume-wise, in comparison to 40k, there wasn't that much, because 30k being the system that it is, you've got all of the legions that were involved, and there's a lot of named characters there. But to put it in perspective, for every one cabinet of an army for 40k there was only a shelf for one army for 30k. So a case in point would be the Dark Angels. So one of the main reasons why I have taken quite a lot of reference photos is probably because of what you can see here. A video that I'm currently in the process of making is an introduction to my Dark Angels army. So my army for 2025 is Dark Angels in 40k. And it was interesting to see the Dark Angels of the 30k on a shelf with lots of named characters and the different colourway and the different armour patterns and that sort of thing, in comparison to the full display cabinet and also like 10 foot by 10 foot square diorama, which heavily involved the Dark Angels. Like, it was a stark contrast, and that in its own right was mind-blowing. Now, on the topic of dioramas, what I will say is the attention to detail on these dioramas is absolutely second to none. One particular diorama of note would be a Sylvaneth diorama that, funnily enough, JJ pointed out. Like, there was that much there to see that you ended up kind of like missing bits, and so this is one of the reasons why we actually did 3 rotations of the exhibition during the course of the day. But JJ sort of tapped us on the shoulder and said, "Oh, have you seen the Sylvaneth one? It's absolutely amazing. The more you look, the more detail there is." And he was right. It was a very, very heavy foresty atmosphere. So everything but the models I'm going to describe here. So it was very heavily laden with moss and with grass and tufts and that sort of thing. Then there was some actual trees that they had created via armature wire and that sort of stuff, as well as actual twigs that they'd kind of broken down and made into the actual sort of tree look-alike type thing for a diorama. It was kind of like a breakout area in a forest with all these Sylvaneth sort of there. Now, because the dioramas, they don't have the bases, they're actually just affixed directly to the diorama themselves. So they blended in perfectly, and the way that they'd finished the diorama was it was pretty much in the same way and using the same colourway as the Sylvaneth that were within this forest. So having that line of continuity, it basically just felt like one big model. It was just amazing. But then they had all these little blue sprites hiding around the place, and it kind of added that little extra detail of, like, this isn't just somebody who's made a little forest scene. This is somebody who's put some time and attention and detail into the depth of this sort of fantasy realm, and it was gorgeous. It was amazing to see. So further into the 40k room then, or 40 and 30k room, so room 2, there was a Leviathan diorama. Now this was the diorama that kind of really spoke to me, because Tyranids, with being my first love, seeing the volume of Tyranids that were on this board and the different heights as well, because there was it was a large battle scene within a large cityscape, and therefore there was towers and spires and different levels and elevations and ramps and walkways and gantries and all that sort of stuff. And from the ground floor all the way through to the highest spire, there was Tyranids flocking all over it. It was amazing. And they were against the Space Marines, obviously, to just basically try and get rid of the onslaught. And there was Hierophants, and there was a Haradrim like swooping in with some gargoyles surrounding it. And I mean, the Hierophant itself, I'm seeing a broken Hierophant, as in a Hierophant that's been purposefully destroyed or disfigured to make it look as if it had just been taken down. So there was blood effect all over the place, and its leg was all crooked and its other leg was lying flat, and it was made to look as if it had seriously that had been killed off. And then to see an actual Hierophant amongst that as well, like a fully fledged, it's still going with all the Termagants and Homagants around it. It was so good, and it really made me want to do another Tyranid army on top of the Behemoth stuff, or even top this up with more. But that's a itch that I may have to scratch another time. Now, one thing I will mention about the 30k and 40k room is actually my favourite part of the exhibit by far, which is actually something oddly simple, and it's a really cool concept. So obviously within the Space Marine legions there are multiple loyalist legions, multiple legions that aren't necessarily as loyal, so the Chaos Legions or the Fallen Legions, and then you've got all of these sub-legions throughout. Now, I'm probably using the wrong terminology here, and if I am, I do apologise. I'm much more on the painting side of the hobby than I am the lore side of the hobby, but I appreciate that there is the correct terminology here. I'm just probably not using that, and I do apologise for that. But there was maybe a 6 foot long, foot wide, foot tall display cabinet, and it had like a stair rack type idea, and it had the exact same Space Marine about 120 times there or thereabouts. I didn't count, but there was a lot, and it was all the different colour patterns for all the different legions. So you had legions that you've probably never heard of, I'd never heard of, say for example the Soul Drinkers, never heard of them, but their colourway was amazing. And then you had Carcharodons, which are amazing in their own right. You had something Eagles, which are a Raven Guard sub-legion. And then you had the Dark Angels, which obviously I was there for. So I went through all of the different legions and looked at the way that they'd composed each paint job, and it was amazing. And that was I would say that's my favourite part of what I saw when I was there. Now, then we go into room 3. Now, I'm not going to say too much about room 3 because I feel it should be a bit of a surprise, but room 3 was a big diorama. That's all I'm going to say. A big diorama, and there is a challenge, and that's it. I failed the challenge, and I was there for about 45 minutes. That's all I'm going to say. But room 3 was really, really cool. Beautifully well done, beautiful setup and all that sort of thing. But I'm not going to say anything more than that. I think it needs to be seen to be understood. You can probably see other people's videos and content on that, and you can probably see like photos on the internet, but if you really want to surprise yourself, room 3 is a pretty cool one. I think you'll enjoy it. And then we go into room 4. So room 4 was all the subsidiary games. So you had things from Blood Bowl, you had things from Necromunda, you had things from some of the other older systems in there as well. And then you had quite a lot of other cabinets which had the larger models, so some of the larger tanks from the Space Marines and the Astra Militarum. You had some of the Tau stuff in there as well, some of the larger Tau stuff. I did actually see Amanda in the flesh, and honestly, I've never seen... in my mind's eye, I anticipated this model to maybe be about, I don't know, about that, so maybe 2 foot. Like a foot and a half, 18 inches long. No. This thing is like, you could surf on it. It's huge. But I couldn't believe it when I saw it. It was just such a vast model to see. But yeah, the Tau Manda, if you ever have a look online for one of those, I don't even know if they still sell them. They're that bloody big. Like, it was maybe I think it's like a £2,000 model, something like £1,500-1,600, maybe £2,000 model. It's huge. But anyway, I digress. I'm sorry. It was huge. It was ridiculous. But anyway, in the cabinets down in the fourth room, you have things like your larger Titans and that sort of thing. So you had Warhound Titans and Warlord Titans, and obviously the Reaver Titan. There was a lot more Chaos Reavers than there was regular Reavers, which I was quite surprised at, because I thought Games Workshop champions the Space Marine as opposed to the Chaos, and I anticipated that there'd be a lot more Space Marine focused stuff as opposed to Chaos Space Marine stuff, but it is what it is. So seeing all of these models in resin unpainted as well was a real eye-opener as to the size of the model. Now, one thing that I've kind of said to myself, which I'm feeling a bit weird saying out loud, is the next time I go to Warhammer World rather, I will be picking up a Reaver Titan as a bare minimum as well, because seeing one in the flesh is like, it's really spurred me on to want to do something with that model. Now, I know it's a big model, it's a phenomenal model, but sincerely, like, seeing one and seeing the detail just on the sculpt, so not on the paint job, just on the sculpt, it's kind of got my mind going 10 to the dozen as to what I would love to do with that, and how I would love to paint that, and how I would love to build it and pose it and base it and do all these different things with it. And then actually potentially play a game with one of my friends. One of my friends has got a really large Catachan army. He's got, I think, maybe 5,000-6,000 points of Catachan. And if I were to include this in a Space Marine list, so a Dark Angels list, for example, yes, it would take up half to 3/4 of the points, but I'd be playing with a Titan. You know what I mean? And it's like, it would be cool, and it would be great. It's a kind of holy grail piece. That and the Thunderhawk as well. I mean, I would love to get a Thunderhawk. I saw 3 Thunderhawks in one diorama, and they were all in Dark Angels colours, and it was so amazing to see that, and like it kind of it served as inspiration for things that I hopefully have to come as well. So that's amazing, and I really loved that. So outside of the larger models down in 4th room, we did have a Necromunda display. Now, granted, Necromunda isn't as supported as a game system as I would like it to be. Yes, they've just released the squats or the squat rules and that sort of stuff, the Ironhide squat, and yes, there's rumours of them delivering an Ashwaste Nomads book, because one of the photos of the LVO reveal looked to be one of the beasts that the Ashwaste Nomads keep. So there's rumours of that, and I would hope that they would expand on the Necromunda universe and they would bring more people to it, because the Necromunda community is so amazing and passionate, and we're doing so much to try and bring other people into it because of just how cool of a game system it is, like how versatile it is. However, in Warhammer World there was a small corner of when I say small corner, there was a good 2 or 3 cabinets, 4 cabinets like filled with Necromunda stuff, and that's great. It was really, really good to see. But I don't feel like they did Necromunda justice, to be honest. I think they could have put a few more cabinets on for Necromunda and a few more dioramas, because there was only 3 dioramas there. One of them wasn't even lit. One of them was the one that they used for the promotional material for Secundus. One of them was the Ash Wastes one. Also, there was 4, and then the middle one was like an oil rig type idea, but it looked like it had Kill Team stuff on it, not Necromunda stuff. I could be wrong, but yeah. There was a Kill Team cabinet, and when I say a Kill Team cabinet, it was literally just a cabinet. I don't think they've kitted it out just yet. And then the rest of the cabinets were just big stuff, custom armies, that sort of thing. And then that's it. You would go out into the shop, and you'd come out at the bottom end of the 40k and the Warhammer Fantasy or Age of Sigmar stock. So we went through that in probably about 50 minutes to an hour. About an hour and a half. Hour and a half max was our first rotation round the display area or the exhibition area, and that's when it became dangerous. Now, if you're anything like me and you're going somewhere such as Warhammer World and you have a burning desire to waste what little money you have, then you've gone to the right place, because that's exactly what I tried not to do. I had to talk my way out of buying a Hierophant. So the Hierophant is currently not available on the GW website, and talking to one of the guys in there, it looks as if a lot of their resin lines are not going to be available for a little while, based on the fact that they put a lot of the time into the old world stock, and as a byproduct, the 30k stock was just eviscerated. It was all gone, and they had a handful of bits left for the other systems in resin. It wasn't that full at all, and I was really surprised by that. But they did have a Hierophant, and I had to talk myself out of buying a Hierophant because I realised that if I were to do that, I would be pretty much on beans on toast all throughout the the rest of the month. But no, I had to temper my budget somewhat and make sure that I was okay to just get a few things that I couldn't have gotten online, and enjoy. So on screen now, you will see what it is that I bought. Now I am going to refer to a receipt because I want to give you the right prices, and I want to tell you exactly what it is that I got. So we have, first and foremost, we have the Sun Gar Lady of the Ash Wastes. We have a Escher Chimerex, and we have the Herder and Dune Scuddler. Now, all three of those models, as of recording this video, well, as of me being in Warhammer World, were not available, but you can actually order the Chimerex now on Warhammer.com. But the other two models, they're not available at the moment, and they haven't been for quite some time because I've been trying to get them. Now, you may be wondering two things. One, Matt, Ash Waste Nomads? I thought you were doing Escher. Yes, I am still doing Escher, and Escher are something that I'm going to continue to do for quite some time. However, the way that I like to do stuff is that I like to have stock of what I want. So for example, I know that the next gang that I want to have a play with as a passion project is probably going to be the Ash Waste Nomads, just because of their aesthetic. I think they're really cool. And also with the route that's kind of been compounded by the idea that very soon there's potentially a book coming out for them. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But anyway, so I got, I've put pictures on screen of what I got there. The first one I'm probably going to build is the Chimerex, and then I'm just going to shelve the other two Ash Waste models for now. And I got a White Dwarf magazine because the Golden Demon coin came out on the same day as I went down. So on the 11th, this Golden Demon coin came out, and for every £60 you spent, you got a Golden Demon coin. And so I now have 2 Golden Demon coins because I spent, I'll tell you, £121.49. I had to get a White Dwarf on top just so because I was so close. I was like £3 or £4 off getting another coin. I was like, I'll just get it. I could have gotten a paint, I could have gotten anything, but I got a White Dwarf instead. So there you go. So yes, so that was the shop. Now Bugman's Bar. Bugman's Bar was really good, actually. I was really surprised. I had heard that the food that Bugman's Bar serves is really, really cool. It's really nice, and the menu's themed as well, so like it's all got like, little nods to different characters within the Warhammer universe. But I decided to kit bash my own burger. Yes, you heard that right, kit bash my own burger, because that's what it's called on the menu. So I had a really simple burger. It was cheese, bacon, beef, lettuce, tomato, mayonnaise. Simple. And it comes with chips, skin on fries. JJ had a chicken sandwich, and it looked so much nicer than my burger. And I would probably rate the food maybe about a 6.5, 7 out of 10. It was really inexpensive as well. It was like, I got half a pint of the Stormhost beer. I got a bottle of Coke, and I got my burger and fries, and that came to like £19, and that's nothing. That's like Wetherspoon's pricing. It was really, really inexpensive, and it was quite nice as well, quite filling. So we sat down, we had our food, we just reminisced about the time that the time we'd spent in the exhibition. And then for the rest of the afternoon, we went our separate ways within the complex to look at the exhibition our own way, because what we found that we were kind of like tugging each other's shoulder, or like tugging each other's sleeve and go, oh, look at this, and then pointing to a very specific thing in a cabinet. And we were both doing that in such a way that was actually making us sort of lose track of what we saw. And that's not a bad thing, because we were just really excited to be there and really excited to see what we were looking at. But we decided to go back in on our own terms, kind of thing, and just look at things in our own way. And that's where I took a lot of my reference photos for my Dark Angels, and some of the other photos that I wanted to take of just the bits and bobs. Now, they're fine with you taking photos, that's not a problem whatsoever. Taking videos and video content within the complex, you have to ask for permission to do that. If it's obviously, you don't want to be defamatory towards GW, and I mean, personally, I wouldn't be anyway. I wouldn't say anything on camera to you guys that I wouldn't feel comfortable saying to a Games Workshop rep. And honestly, like, my experience of Warhammer World was absolutely phenomenal. The staff was so good. Genuinely, every member of staff that I spoke to in the complex was absolutely lovely, genuinely really nice, so helpful. They all went the extra mile, and considering that they get really excited, nerdy people like you and I in there daily, and they have to match that energy daily, I imagine it's quite exhausting for them. But they give you the time, they answer the question, they make sure they answer your question, and they'll ask you if you have any further questions. They'll try and iron out any opportunity for you to have forgotten something or feel bad for forgetting something. They'll make you feel comfortable and welcome, and that you can't ask for much more than that. So went back through the exhibition a couple of times. Just did a couple of rotations of it, took the photos I wanted to take, went back out into the shop, and then I had decision paralysis to the things I want to get. And as I've already mentioned, I've bought the things that I bought. So overall, Warhammer World was amazing, and genuinely, I can't wait to go back. The feeling was the thing that I can't shift, and I'm still kind of in that sort of romantic honeymoon period type thing about it now. It just feels really nice, and the thing that kind of makes me feel better about the whole situation is that it was JJ's birthday and his Christmas box, and he was literally smiling ear to ear throughout the entirety of the day. And then on the drive back, all we did was talk about what we'd seen. And when we got back to the house, I mean, we all had a Chinese for our dinner. We got a Chinese takeaway for our dinner, and we all sat down in the living room and talked. And JJ was like passionately talking about what he'd seen, and everyone was just like, we just had a lovely time, and it just felt really cool. And to have that kind of level of passion around us, I was just so happy that I saw JJ happy. And that gave me a big happy buzz, and I was happy as well because I'd had a really good time and I'd spent some great one-on-one time with JJ, and it was nice. It was a really nice time. But as a group, so as the five of us, we're looking to go down later on in the year. It might be four of us, so it might be just the lads. I don't think JJ's partner will be joining us. I'm not sure. We're not sure at this moment in time because she's got some exams coming up, and obviously they're more important than going to see some really cool miniatures in a cabinet. But anyway, so that's it. That's a long sort of whistle-stop tour of my experience at Warhammer World. Would I recommend it? Yes. Wholeheartedly, yes. Absolutely. If you've never been and you want to do the pilgrimage yourself, try and do it. My advice would be to save up, so save some money. Make sure you've got a comfortable amount of money to put into the things you want to buy. You can easily spend hundreds of pounds in there, so I'm going to put that straight out there, because of the accessibility of pretty much the whole range of everything, unless it's 30k and they don't have any resin. But yeah, the access to the ranges that are there, if you're wanting to start a new project, or if you're wanting to get some really cool Forge World bits or some resin bits for your army, the chances are they've got it. I chose not to get plastic kits because you can get plastic kits at your local GW or your local friendly game store, and so it kind of seemed a bit pointless for me to get the kits that I could get at home. Just didn't make any sense in my head. So I got the kits that I couldn't get at home, the resin kits, the ones that you can only get from the website or from Warhammer World. So I was really quite comfortable with my purchases there. The food was lovely, the gaming hall looked really cool, and when we go back down we're going to be booking the large Sector Mechanicus, Sector Mechanicus, I can't remember which one it is now, or Zone Mortalis, one of the two, terrain boards to play on. So we're actually going to be playing on like a multi-leveled, multi-tiered, got loads of pipes and gantries and all that sort of thing. I'm going to try and book that specific table because it's amazing. And we're going to play a couple of games of Necromunda on that. But yeah, take some money with you, make sure you've got plenty of time in there. Probably go down during the week as opposed to a weekend, because at the start of the day there was quite a lot of people there and there was quite a lot of families there as well, and as the day kind of went on, the people kind of died off. But so when we went round the exhibition, for example, the second time round, in one room there was like 3 people and I was one of them, whereas when I first went round in the morning there was like 40 people and I was one of them. So it, you know, choose your time wisely and that sort of thing. But yeah, take some money with you, take some friends with you if you can, make your pilgrimage worth it. Definitely stay for some food, because they've got dietary options there as well. Yeah, they've got vegetarian and vegan options too. So if you've got dietary requirements such as those, they can cater to you. What else? That's pretty much it. So there we go. I went to Warhammer World. I'd highly recommend it. And I really can't wait to go back. So that's it for this video, guys. If you're new around here and you haven't done so already, please feel free to subscribe. I'll be doing, I think the next video I'm going to be releasing to you guys is surrounding the Dark Angels. So that's for Warhammer 40k. Then after that, I'm probably going to go back and actually start doing my Chimerics and my other resin models. So I'm going to start doing some more painting of my Escher. But outside of that, guys, I've been Matt. This has been my beard. Feel free to like and subscribe. I'd really love that. And just have a good day. I'll catch you in a bit, okay?